The new year is hardly old enough for me to even break my New Year's resolution, and already we're getting a glimpse of what new road bikes might launch in 2021. So in this video, a quick roundup of what we might expect to see from Cannondale, new bikes from Cervelo, a closer look at Bianchi's new race bikes, and possibly the world's lightest power meter. Let's dive in. Let's start with a big one. And will we see a brand new Cannondale road bike in 2021? In my previous predictions video, link above if you missed that, I talked about their Synapse, their endurance bike, being overdue for an update. Launched as it was back in 2017. So 3-4 years is about right for an update. Now over on their Twitter page the other day, the company reminded us that in June of 2021, they celebrate 50 years since they launched back in 1971. So a great opportunity to launch a brand new bike. And being a bike company, I'm sure they want to mark the occasion with something more than a special cake. But given the company track record, they could do anything. A motocross bike, we have seen it in the past. A crazy concept bike with folding wheels and mad electronics, sure thing. This company has a record of producing some very innovative, crazy concept bikes that never see the light of day. But a more sensible option would be to launch a brand new bike, and the Synapse, as it's due for an update, could be the perfect way to mark the 50th anniversary. So what can we expect from a new Synapse? Well, lighter for a start, probably more aero, probably more integration with full internal K routing, probably some more comfort as well, bigger tyre clearance. A refinement of the current bike, which is one of my favourite endurance bikes, would be nice, rather than a radical redesign from the ground up. But the interesting move for Cannondale is how they align the Synapse alongside the Topstone carbon gravel bike. Because the two bikes in some ways are very similar, I think they need a clear separation. So making a Synapse a racier, more performance orientated bike could be a good move without going too close to a SuperSix Evo. Now talking of a SuperSix Evo, a really interesting idea would be to launch a brand new model called the SuperSix Evo Classic. How does that sound? That sounds pretty good to me. So I can't claim credit for this. It was actually a viewer who goes by the name of Hedu. I'm sure it's not his real name, but he put forward the idea of a SuperSix Classic. And this makes great sense. The SuperSix Evo, which launched back in 2011, still one of the best bikes of the past decade. I own one, still a fantastic bike. And last year they gave it a big update, so aero frame influence and drop rear stays, and really moved away from that classic appearance of the SuperSix Evo. So launching a new version of that old bike under the classic moniker could be a great move, especially following the interest in the Specialized Athos, which is a bike not designed for racing, but for super low weight and ride quality. So how about this then? The SuperSix Classic would be a simple round tube frame, very much like the old SuperSix Evo, with a weight of 500 to 600 grams, with disc brakes, all the latest technology, external threaded bottom brackets, although it probably won't happen, and a focus on ride quality first and foremost. I can see that sitting alongside their SuperSix Evo race bike really nicely for people who want the low weight and the stiffness and the performance of a race bike, but aren't worried about aerodynamics. A bike that puts ride quality front and centre of what matters, like that Specialized Athos I rode last year. So that could be a really interesting move. Now the odds of this bike actually materialising are pretty low, to be honest, but I would love to see this bike. I can see this bike fitting in their range really nicely, and Cannondale fans like myself would definitely flock to a bike like this. I think there's a real market for this sort of bike that doesn't worry about racing and UCI rules and aerodynamics, but as light as it can be, using the latest carbon fibre technology. It looks beautiful as well, really refined traditional appearance, and a nice paint job, nice graphics, understated graphics as well. I think it would go down really well. So let me know what you think of a SuperSix Classic down below. So yes, I would love to see that, but it's probably a pipe dream if I'm being honest. So from that fantasy to two nailed on brand new bikes from Cervelo in 2021. So Cervelo, as you know, are sponsoring the Jumbo-Visma team this year and have a busy year ahead, and I reckon they're launching two new bikes. There's the R5 and a brand new cyclocross bike. Let's start with the R5, and I actually talked about this in my predictions video, link below if you missed that. That was launched back in 2017, 2018, and it used to be a super lightweight bike, Back in the old days, the RCA was a sub 700 gram frame, so super lightweight, made in California, really high-end, expensive stuff. But the last update, they made it a semi-aero bike with an aero-shaped down tube. And since then, I've been shared a picture on Twitter of Jumbo-Visma star rider Tom Dumoulin actually riding what appears to be a prototype blacked out Cervelo R5. So let's have a closer look at the bike. So we can see the front end is totally different to the current R5. There are no exposed cables at all, where on the current model they go into the top of the fork and down tube. This new bike, no visible cables at all, and it looks like a brand new one-piece or two-piece carbon fibre aero handlebar which routes the cables and hoses inside the handlebar, through the stem, into the frame and straight down to the brakes and front and rear mech. So it's a clear indication that the new R5 follows the current trend for fully internal cable routing like we've seen on the Tarmac SL7 and the Trek and Monda SLR, to name a few examples. But how they've actually routed the cables inside the frame will be interesting to see what system they've adopted, whether it's a brand new system or they're using an off-the-shelf system like that FSA ACR system. So that'd be interesting to see how they've done that. So brand new fork as well, looks very different to the R5. We still have what appears to be an aero down tube, and moving further back, the rear stays are as skinny as before, but chain stays look a little bit less chunky than the current model. So visibly a brand new bike and a big departure from the current bike, fully internal cable routing system, probably be lighter, more aero, and the big question is, this is a disc brake frame in the picture, will there be a rim brake R5 in the future? There was with the current version, but will there be with the future? Well, nobody knows, but we'll find out soon enough. So that is coming soon. When it can be launched, I have no idea, but I'll keep an eye on the early season training camps where you often see new bikes being tested before the races later in the season. And then from that to the mud and rain of cyclocross. And you might have seen some of the racing, been a fantastic cyclocross season so far, with Mathieu van der Poel, Tom Pidcock and Wout van Aert going head to head in some really dramatic racing in some very, very testing conditions, not unlike the mud I have here in the Cotswolds. And we have clear evidence that there's a brand new cyclocross bike coming from Cervelo. And the fact that I can be so confident they're launching a cyclocross bike is that Wout van Aert basically said that in an interview after a race, said that they're working on a cyclocross bike, and currently, as you can see from the pictures, he's riding his Bianchi race bike from last year, but with a Celeste paint job covered by a black and yellow paint job, and just the team sponsor on the down tube. So no bike markings on his frame at all, but it's a Bianchi underneath the paint. And that's big news for the company, because Cervelo, as you probably know, are a pure road race focused company. They've never made off-road bikes, mountain bikes or gravel bikes or cyclocross bikes. But recently they launched the Espero, their gravel adventure bike. Now you can use the Espero for cyclocross. You certainly fit the right tyres and go racing on that bike, no problems at all. But for the sort of high level World Cup racing that Wout van Aert is doing, he'll want a dedicated, focused cyclocross race bike. So we can expect a lighter frame, less clearance than you have on the Espero, none of the mounts and versatility you get from that bike, and different geometry as well, with cyclocross bikes usually having higher bottom brackets than in gravel bikes for more pedal clearance in muddy ruts that they have to endure. And being Cervelo, it could be quite a radical bike, bringing some of that road bike technology from the R5 and even the Espero to a brand new cyclocross bike. Now the big question I have is, I don't know how popular cyclocross is these days, given how popular gravel is becoming. And I have a hunch, not based on any data, that gravel is surpassing cyclocross in sales and also in participation. With a few people going cyclocross racing at weekends, well there's no racing at the moment, but before the lockdown, and instead going on gravel adventures, doing their own gravel rides. And if Cervelo really are launching a cyclocross bike this year, that's a big investment on a bike that probably won't sell in big numbers, but a big investment when you have a superstar cross racer like Wout van Aert on your bikes, and you want to give him the best bikes to really let him shine in the cyclocross season. Short as it is, he'll be over on the road soon for road racing, but interesting move for them. Can't wait to see what they actually come out with whenever it's launched, hopefully before the end of the season, but if not, should be out for August, September for the 2022 or 2021-2022 cyclocross season. So yeah, look out for that one fairly soon. With Cervelo now sponsoring the Jumbo-Visma team for 2021, that leaves Bianchi now sponsoring the Australian outfit Green Edge. And we've got a look at their bikes recently, link above if you missed that. And I think they are fantastic looking race bikes with a really nice fade celeste to black paint job that really works for me. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Now in this video we've got a better look at the Ultra XR4. So we only saw pictures before, but here's some video and it looks really good, and hopefully I can't wait to see one in the flesh later this season. So really good looking bike. But the big question remains is when is a new Ultra XR bike coming out? So the current Ultra XR4, the flagship aero race bike, was launched way back in 2016. Yes, it really is that old, and the disc brake version coming more recently. So that's really old, really dated compared to the latest aero bikes from the likes of Canyon, Cannondale, Scott, Trek, Specialized, to name a few. And we saw clear evidence of the bike's age at the Tour de France last year, where you might remember they're riding specially painted black bikes designed to keep the weight as low as possible. And that's because the weight of the Ultra XR4 is on the high side compared to modern rivals, with a claimed weight for a size 55 coming in at 980 grams. So for comparison, a Specialized Tarmac SL7 is about 800 grams, with some frames even lighter. So it's a real heavyweight compared to those, and 200 grams or thereabouts might sound like not a lot, but at the pro level where weight matters and you try and get down to that 6.8 kilo limit, then it really makes a big difference, especially when you add disc brakes and power meters and other weight adding features. So a natural place to start for a new Ultra XR5 possibly could be lower weight, so 700 to 800 grams would be a good ballpark figure for the weight of this frame. And then a renewed focus on the aerodynamic performance of this bike, because the bike was launched in 2016, which means it was probably designed between 2014 and 2015, so quite dated compared to the latest technology and latest understanding of aerodynamics that the current manufacturers are using with the likes of Tarmac and the Madone and Aeroad and others. So a more aero bike, a lighter bike, probably more integration as well. And the other big question, like the Cervelo R5, is will they continue to offer a rim brake version alongside a disc brake version? Well, again, nobody knows. We'll find out sooner. There's been no indication that a new Ultra XR5, if it can be called that, is being launched anytime soon. But now, as the ride presumably go into early season training camps, depending on COVID-19 restrictions, now is a good time to spot new bikes. Because when a manufacturer has a new bike coming out, they often get it with riders before the big races like Tour de France and the early season classics. So training camps are often where we might see a new bike being spotted. So a good time to pay attention to Instagram and Twitter accounts of big high profile riders and low profile riders as well, to see if a new bike might make an appearance. So one to watch out for this year for sure. And lastly, this is claimed to be the world's lightest power meter at an incredible 325 grams. So if you're a weight weenie and you like measuring your power, this is a power meter for you. So it's a combination of a company whose name I can't really pronounce and THM Carbone, a high-end, very small boutique German company well known to weight weenies for making amazing carbon fiber components. Like most power meters, it's ANT Plus and Bluetooth compatible, so it works with most common cycling computers like Garmin's and Wahoo's and others available on the market. There's a smartphone app so you can check the rechargeable battery status, and it looks like a really clever piece of technology. Ticking the power meter option on the THM Carbone's crankset webpage adds about 800 euros to the price, so you're looking at about 2,000 euros for a complete set, which yes, I know is a lot of money. You can certainly buy a cheaper power meter these days, the prices have really come down. But if you want what's claimed to be the lightest power meter in the world, then 2,000 euros it is. A quick recap then, we've got brand new bikes from Cervelo, possibly a new bike from Cannondale, a closer look at Bianchi's Ultra XR4 and what I want to see from the new XR5, and possibly the world's lightest power meter. So plenty of interesting news just a few days into 2021. So if you enjoy watching this video, maybe watch some other videos linked around here somewhere floating around, and subscribe to my channel by hitting that red button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, hit the like button. Follow me on Instagram as well and Twitter for more behind the scenes from all the bikes I'm testing at the moment. And with all that said, just leave me say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.